Hello, friends. Welcome to the latest episode of Social Harmony. Today, I'm joined by Laurie and Stephanie, and they've got a great story to share. And, well, they found out that they were dating the same guy. They later found out that there were a lot more as well. Um, yeah, and I think in this age of dating apps and readily availability to each other and access to one another, this highlights what could be quite a scary situation and yeah, an emotionally very distressing one. And as I speak to both Laurie and Stephanie, there's it's very evident the heartbreak that this kind of behaviour causes. You know, these two women were essentially dating the same man for years, thinking that this is going to be my person, introducing to family, welcoming him into my home, and ultimately finding out that it's built on a foundation of lies was heartbreaking for both of them. So they tell me how it comes to be in this situation, what it felt like at the time, but more importantly, finding each other and healing and building yourself back up from it. So, well, yeah, I hope you enjoy listening to the episode. I hope you get a lot from it, and yeah, I suppose ultimately take away the good feeling that came out of which was a pretty shitty situation for him. So thank you again for joining me. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining me this latest episode of Social Harmony, where I'm joined by Laurie Simons. So please, Laurie, could you give us a brief introduction? Let my listeners know who you are.
Hi. Yes, Lee, it's so wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Lori
Mm.
Simons. I live in Tampa, Florida. Um, I grew up here in Tampa as my hometown, and I work. I have a full-time job working for a global bank, and I'm a mom of a wonderful young man who's 23, and have a story that we're just trying to get out there of recovery of um, how going through the depths of hell can bring you to a place of happiness.
Well, yeah, this is when I sort of read your story, I was a bit thrown. And I think this is something that nowadays a lot more people need to be aware of. So, well, I suppose if you want to give us the bombshell
Yeah.
reveal, and then we can look at how we got there. How does that sound?
Fantastic. Yes, it's a very unique story, or I'm not sure if it's unique anymore, but nevertheless, how I got to this point was in my early 50s, I decided to start dating again. And I met a gentleman on a dating platform like most people do nowadays. We had dated for 4 years. We had been dating for 4 years. Wasn't probably the best relationship. I think I settled a lot on this relationship, but nevertheless, it was the man I thought I was going to grow old with. He was the man I had been waiting for all my life. He checked all the boxes. But especially towards the end, it was very hard having a relationship. He kept saying he was sick all the time, that I would text him. He was really bad with responding to texts. But nevertheless, he was like, listen, I'm sick. I don't feel good. I'll call you when I wake up. I have all these things going on, health reasons. And so he would, between that and he owned his own, or he owns his own business, and helping raising his children. He was always like, I'm busy. I'm between pillar to post busy. So you're
Hmm.
just going to have to be patient with me when I respond.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, so it brings me to beginning of the year,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, my I had a dog that had passed away unexpectedly. So
Hmm.
I called him in tears. It was, on a Thursday and a Friday, crying. Please, can you meet me? I really need to spend some time with you. I'm having a hard time losing my pet, and I don't know what to do. Well, he texted me back, yeah, I'm going to take the day. It was Saturday. I'm going to take Saturday and rest, and I want to feel better, but let's get together on Sunday and do something. Okay, that's
Hmm.
fine. So that Saturday, morning, I got up and I took one of my friends, a dear friend of mine, and I said, "Come on, let's go shopping. Let's go to the store. And you want to come with me and spend the day?" And she said, "Sure." And I said, there's a restaurant in town that's right near to the store we're going to. Have you ever been there? Would you like to go?" She said, "Yeah, I've never been there. Let's try it for lunch." I
Hmm.
pull into the parking lot and I said, "That's funny. There's his car. I
Hmm.
wonder what he's doing." He told me he was going to be sick today. Maybe his daughters were taking him to lunch. Maybe something happened. I don't know. I was excited. I said, "Hey, you get to finally meet him. Let's go inside and see where he's at."
Hmm.
And as soon as I walk in, I see he's at a table
Mm-hmm.
sitting with his mother and this other woman. And I
Hmm.
didn't know who this other woman. She was younger. I didn't know who. I assumed maybe it was a relative, a friend of the family's. I don't know who she is. I
Hmm.
walk up to the table and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he gives me this look like he'd never seen me before and said, "Nothing." So what are you
Hmm.
doing? He's like, eating, obviously.
Hmm.
And I said, "Okay." I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I turned around
Yeah.
and I said, "There's something. This is odd."
Hmm.
And I was like, "Well, let's sit down and eat. Maybe he's with his mom." I hadn't had a chance. I've never met the mom yet. I asked for years to meet his mom, but I never. Maybe he was uncomfortable bringing this into the situation where I'd meet the mom.
Yeah.
And we sit at a table, and all of a sudden, I see the lady that's sitting next to him starting to rub his back and hold his hand. And I went,
Hmm.
"Oh, dear God. Oh, God."
Hmm.
So I walked up to the table and I said, "Okay, what is bleep going on? And who is this person?"
Hmm.
Um, we walk out and he said, "Come on, let's go walk outside to talk." And after yelling at him, he's like, "She's my nurse and she was checking my pulse." I went,
Hmm.
"Wait, what?" "On your back. She's checking your pulse on your back." I said, "What nurse? You don't have a nurse." I said,
Hmm.
"Who is this?" So after a bunch of back and forth, he keeps backing up. He finally says, "Oh, well, I've been dating her since I've been sick." I
Wow.
never once has he ever said anything about dating other women. Not once he
Hmm.
said it. I was in shock, hysterical. I walk back into the building in shock, grab my friend. The sheriff shows up
Hmm.
and he goes behind the building. From what I understand, now I find out because he's a drug addict, went
Hmm.
behind the building to do some coke and called the sheriff on me for catching him with another woman.
Wow.
Um, I take off at this point because I'm like, I don't even understand what's going on. And the sheriff follows me, but then proceeds to take off when he realizes I'm not going to do anything.
Hmm.
And I said, something, there's a group here on Facebook that is for women that you can log into and become a member and see if there's other men, other women dating the same guy you're dating.
Hmm.
And I said, he's always been so social media shy, but forget this. I'm going to go put him out there.
Hmm.
An hour later, not even an hour later, I get a message from another woman who is my now best friend, Stephanie. And she says, "Oh my God, I've been dating him for 5 years. Who are you? We need to talk."
Wow.
So here it comes. So Stephanie and I end up meeting. We find out we've been dating the same guy. She's been dating him for 5 years. I've
Hmm.
been dating him for 4 years. We don't know who this third woman is that we just found him with.
Hmm.
Never seen her. And she and I start talking. 2 days later, I get another phone call from this woman, another
Hmm.
woman that said,
Hmm.
not only, she said, "I've been dating him for 2 years and have been living with him." We're
Wow.
like, "What?" And she
Yeah.
said, and I said, "How did you find me?" She said, "The woman you caught him with called me to ask because she's an employee of his
Hmm.
and wanted to know if I knew. So all of a sudden now there are three women that have been, four women that have been dating, one of which
Hmm.
is living with him and just broke up.
Hmm.
We all find each other to find out that all these lies,
Hmm.
that all this time that he has been claiming to be at work, he
Hmm.
wasn't, claiming to be sick, he wasn't. The sickness he has was when we would see him being sick, it was because he was actually having withdrawals from a cocaine and Klonopin addictions that we did not know
Hmm.
he had.
Hmm.
We found actually the ex-wife who ended up, who he hated more than anything. She has now become part of our friendship group, and
Hmm.
through this, we have had to recover some of the most horrific, to go from in 1 minute I knew what my life was going to be like, that I
Hmm.
knew I was going to retire. I was going to end up with this gentleman. He was the man I had waited for all my life, to find out that everything I knew about him was a complete lie.
Hmm.
Everything was lies. Everything he said about his ex-wife was lies. And he used to say, "Don't put me on social media. Don't put pictures of me out there because my ex-wife will hunt me down and she'll go after you and she'll attack you and all that." It was not true at all. It was because he
Hmm.
was hiding all these other lives he was leading.
Hmm.
And we finally, I think it was about a month later, Stephanie and I had become very, very good friends. We got together and we found him at an expo hall and approached him
Hmm.
and said, "How could you do this to us? How could you have lied? We have found all these other women." And he turned around and said, "You found my ex-wife. You have ganged up with her against me. How dare you? You don't know how bad you've made my life. Leave me alone and go away." That was the last. And so we decided, after this very, very long journey of recovery, of hell,
Hmm.
of since then, I tried to commit suicide
Hmm.
over this, thinking it was me.
Hmm.
I ended up then having, because of the stress levels it caused me and the trauma, I ended up having a heart attack.
Wow.
My sciatica gave out on me,
Hmm.
and I'm still trying to hold a full-time job and survive.
Hmm.
And I had
Hmm.
not would not been able to do it had it been because of these women that we have all formed a bond, a very traumatic bond. All
Hmm.
of us except for the one I actually caught him with. She decided that she was going to stay with him because she's his employee.
Hmm.
Um, but we got to the point where like we we keep seeing on social media and on these groups where these women have the same problems. "Hey, I found out the guy that I've been dating for years, or we're engaged, or I'm getting married, or we're having a baby, and he's been dating other women all this time, and we don't know. And how do I know if he still loves me, or how do I know if it's love?" And
Hmm.
we got to the point where like we need to get it out there.
Hmm.
If you have to question whether he loves you or not, he doesn't. If
Hmm.
you have to question whether or not he's committed to you, then he isn't, because you should never have to ask.
Hmm.
And don't be like us, where we go 4 years of thinking, "Well, that doesn't sound right. Why do these lies sound wrong?" But turning around because they're so good at gaslighting and
Hmm.
manipulation that we blame ourselves for questioning.
Hmm.
And that's where we are today, that we
Hmm.
are recovered, healthy, full of happiness, manifest peace and happiness in our life.
Hmm.
And I want other women to know you can survive this. If I
Hmm.
can survive this crazy story,
Hmm.
you can too.
Hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, that's well, it's a lot, isn't it? So I suppose my first question would be, and when you saw him in the restaurant, I mean,
Yeah.
what was going through your mind? And the reason I ask is that I mean I've been confronted with a cheating partner before now, and it's that sort of that disbelief that trying to make sense of a lot of things all at once.
Yeah.
And I I don't know, I struggled with that in the first instance. You know, like you said, that questioning yourself, that am I getting this wrong? That doubt, it's a weird one. So
Yeah.
what did it look like for you?
It was, it was the minute he said, yeah, I've been seeing her since I've been sick. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I don't even know how long you've been sick now. My
Hmm,
whole world dropped. I
hmm,
knew in that very instant everything that I had put my life into for him ended.
hmm,
And it was earth shattering that
hmm,
I knew at that second it was never going to be the same. And how, to this day, sometimes I look back and I go, I can't believe this is happening.
hmm,
I still am in shock that I have, I can't believe this happened to me. I
hmm,
can't believe I allowed someone, oh my gosh. And I think many people go through is not always sometimes forgiving the person who did that to you, but forgiving yourself for allowing you to be put in that
hmm,
position for
hmm,
so long. That's
hmm,
the hardest part of recovery is self-forgiveness.
hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And this is after 4 years. This is not like 3 months when you're still establishing a relationship. I'd expect after 4 years, you pretty much, you set. You're on a path somewhere. And but can I ask? You said earlier on in the piece it wasn't the greatest relationship, and
Right.
you said that you were settling for a lot of
Yes.
things. I mean, what did that look like to you? Please talk me more about that.
You know, I I think I was more in love with the image I had put into my head of him
Hmm.
than who he actually was.
Yeah.
Because to me, he checked off all the right boxes of what I was looking for in a man, that I settled for less than what I deserved, thinking that's all I really deserved,
Hmm.
because eventually it was going to get better. He
Hmm.
was always promising me tomorrow.
Hmm.
Let me feel better. We're going to go on that cruise. Let me feel better. And then we're going to retire and talk about our plans. Let me let me take care of, the business. Let me take care of my daughter's graduating from high school.
Hmm.
It was always let me do this, and then tomorrow
Yeah.
is going to happen for us. So I was always holding on to that tomorrow.
Hmm.
The odd thing is now that I sit there and I went, oh my gosh, how many times I would question him and his stories, and I would say, well, that's odd. And in my mind, I kept going, that's odd. I would find things in his house. I would find, even though he had a woman living with him, and then I would be the one, I would come and stay with him on Monday nights.
Hmm.
Stephanie was the one, she would stay with him on Tuesday nights. And I'm going, I never saw another woman's stuff there.
Hmm.
Never. But then a couple of times I would find some things and I'd say, why is there like a one of those soap scrunchies in your shower? That's not mine. Oh, that
Hmm.
must be my daughter's. Why is
Hmm.
there an earring in your bedroom? Oh, it must have been one of my daughters running through the room and dropped it. I don't know how it ended up here. I didn't he was good.
Hmm.
And not only was he so good, but now, even though that we all were dating the same man, and even his ex-wife who was married to him
Hmm.
prior to us, it's the same man, but we
Hmm.
all feel like we were dating different men because he would mirror our interest, what he knew, who we wanted him to be, and he would mirror that so that we
Hmm.
would fall more in love with him.
Hmm.
When he was with me, he knew I was always about business, about we would talk about our heritage together because we both came from Jewish families. So he would play along with that.
Hmm.
Um, Stephanie, who is now one of my dearest friends in the entire world, he would be all about animals because she's a
mm,
vet technician. And so he would mirror what we were looking for.
yeah,
Um, but the thing is now we joke and we all say, in the year 2025, we lost a loser, but we gained sisterhood.
mm,
And that's where we had to be. We didn't even, and the thing is we were being so manipulated and abused. And the worst part is we had no idea because we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea what he was
mm,
doing behind the scenes. So that's a lot of the forgiveness that we're having to deal with, our own
mm,
internal, this forgiving ourselves for seeing these signs,
mm,
going through all of this, thinking it was us causing that we were the one breaking him while we were broken the whole time.
mm. Wow. Yeah, I mean, when you were talking earlier on, I was sort of thinking, was he playing the same character and what have you, which you've just answered now. I'm just sort of think
No.
that must have been mentally exhausting. I'm not making any sort of excuse for him or whatever, but to be able to keep up that level of lying for so long in so many different, with so many different people, I don't know whether I'd have the
Yeah.
bandwidth to remember
Ex-
everything.
That's exactly what we said. I mean, we both sat there going, "Damn! I mean, he should have won an Oscar. He was. How do you not?" But
Yeah.
here's some of the things we also found out. When
Mm,
Stephanie and I got together, she and I were looking at our phones, looking at text messages. So
mm,
many times he would take the same text message, copy it,
mm.
and send it to both of us. So he would be communicating the same things to us all the time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so he was starting to do that. But the thing was, is that it probably was getting too much because but for so long, he didn't think he was going to get caught. And he eventually got caught.
Mm,
And now again, we were catching him in things, but we didn't realize that there were other women. He would say flat out, when do I have time to date other women? No, there's
mm,
not another woman in my life. No, you're the only person I'm with. Why would I want to be with someone else? Everything he would do is, I'm doing this for you because
mm,
I don't feel good. I'm so busy. He had the excuses though. He says he was raising his two daughters,
mm-hmm,
what she was only doing part-time. He says he was busy with his business that he runs. He owns, $1 million business here in Tampa. And so he always had excuses why he would not be available and why
mm,
he would not text us or why he would get caught in a lie. And, oh, you don't understand how many things I got going on in my life. We
mm.
just ignorantly believed it without questioning it. And I wish I known now I wish I known then what I know now to have
Yeah.
said, "Whoa, that really doesn't make sense."
Mm. Well, I mean, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Like you mentioned yourself, you wanted to believe this in the first
Yes.
instance. So we do sort of sometimes paper over the little cracks or whatever, or we don't want to see, the red flags or whatever you want to call it, because we want this to work out. But like you touched upon then, hindsight being a wonderful teacher. So in the first instance, you've got this shock, this disbelief, this what the hell's happening to me kind of thing.
Mhm.
But when you start to track it back in hindsight, what were the big standout markers for you that just sort of thought, hang on, yeah, I've been played?
You know, the biggest for me though, and I think it was for all of us, is
Mm,
none of my friends and family liked him.
mm,
And when we all got together, us women that were in this relationship with him, we all said the same thing. My kids hated him.
mm,
Or my friends couldn't stand him.
mm,
Maybe in the beginning they did. I think like for Stephanie, she had told me her kids loved him at first. He was good. Her friends
mm,
liked him. For me, my friends caught him really fast and said, "Lori, you need to stay away from him. He's playing you." No, he's not. He's just really busy. And you guys just don't understand everything he's going through. And they'd be like, "Okay." But now I go back and it was, how many times my mom used to say, "Lori, what are you doing? This is not how
mm,
a man loves a woman."
mm,
But I would always make up excuses because I I take my blame in it as well. That I was
Mm,
so deceived and so wanting to make it work that I would believe his lies to fit what I
yeah.
needed him to be in my life.
Mm. Yeah. Now, I think this, well, it highlights something as well. A lot of us, that gut instinct, that's something
Yeah.
that I think a lot of us, we've either trained ourselves to not pay attention to, or when it is a situation that you want. And by all means, we all do this. You sort of, like you say, you make the excuses, don't you? You, oh, it'll be all right on the other side of, like he was saying to you, once I do this, everything's on the other side of happy. So,
Yes.
well, I mean, further to this, I've got to ask, the he's dating women here, there, and everywhere. I mean, was this a relationship thing? Let's say, or was it like, or was there something more sinister? And the reason what I'm getting at is, was he like a confidence man or something like that? Because that highlights another very real danger in something like this. I mean, you've been emotionally manipulated, and others as well, which
Mhm.
in and of itself, is a heartbreaking thing. But then it does open the door to, he would have access to potentially bank accounts, things like that. That is another level of, I don't know, well, fear. That's a scary
Mhm.
prospect. That, yeah, this guy can worm his way into your affections, but then beyond that.
Yeah, at this point I don't really know what would possess him to have done this more than his own ego,
Mm,
for his own pleasure.
mm,
I have since found out that he is a very sick individual, and there were lots of sides to him that we did not know. What
mm,
we were, dating the devil, actually,
mm, mm,
and none of us knew. But they say the devil comes in sheep's clothing, right?
mm,
Um, I don't know what he would have been capable of, but I don't think he was ever out to hurt anyone
mm.
more than it was more about pleasing himself
Right.
and feeding his own insecurities, his own ego, his own sick. He's a very sick, sadistic man, but it's all about
Mm,
himself. um,
right.
and at any cost. And he just didn't care who he stepped on, who he hurt, and he's still this way. He just doesn't care as long as it fits his little, his agenda
Mm,
and his own kingdom.
mm,
Um, and it's very sad because I did not live with him.
mm,
One of the women that I had been did live with him for 2 years, and she said what torture it was living with him.
mm,
His ex-wife has even said what torture it was living with him,
mm,
because everything was about him, his
mm,
his addictions,
mm,
his and a lot of that. But see, he only showed a little bit of us, all these little addictions, so we never put them together until we all got together, and we
mm,
all formed this bond that we realized, oh my gosh, he really was doing some sick stuff behind our back. And thank
mm,
God that the universe said, yeah, I'm done. I see what's going on when you guys don't, and it's time for you guys. I'm going to end it
mm,
because you guys won't.
mm,
And the best thing that ever happened for us was that there's some really sick stuff that we found out. Thank God we got away. And if we've had to go through this journey of healing, we didn't have to do it alone.
mm,
And that we had, I mean, I never in a million years thought that if you had been telling me, yeah, my best friends in the world is
mm,
my ex-boyfriend's other relationship and his ex-wife.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I suppose there's something there. There's good come out of a tragedy. But can I ask? I mean, you
Sure.
you talked about this other side to him. And I'm not looking to be salacious, but I think as a
Mm-hmm.
safety aspect, could you could you expand a little more on that? On this other side to him, whatever he's been up to, because
Uh, mhm.
I suppose it's one of those. It starts in small ways. I think it sounds like this guy has been grooming everybody in his own little way,
Yes.
and again, the danger is it's whatever wherever this goes would start with one small step and then a bit of something else. And you're already
Yes.
in a position where, you're making some excuses for him for seemingly innocuous things. And my worry would be that this would continue into quite dangerous ground. Is that tracking?
Uh, I think so, but I think that I don't know if it's danger to us as much as to himself or to his own reputation.
Mm,
Um, listen, hey, a lot of the things that we're finding is a lot of his sexual deviances that he
right.
has.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, some people may find it their cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
So be it, as long as you're open and willing to say, this is the lifestyle I want to live,
Mm,
this is how I
okay.
want to do things, this is my deviance, and someone says, yes, okay, I'm agreeing with that, I'll be in that lifestyle with you. Well, when you
Mm,
bring other people into that and don't tell them and
mm,
assume that that's when it's wrong. So I want
yeah.
to set that preference and precedence first.
Mm,
So for each one of us, like I said, we all had a different relationship with him. Some of them
mm,
he would bring out his sexual deviances more than others,
mm,
um, and would ask us to participate and slowly want to be a part of it. And I mean, I really, Stephanie is the one that he kind of came more clean with. Yes, I believe that he probably secretly hates women because personally, I don't think he really wishes he could date women. I know
mm,
for a fact that he has some tendencies towards preferring sexual um, enjoyment with things that
mm-hmm.
are done only with other men. And I don't know how to say this to be
That's
politically
all
correct or but yes, we had found his ex-wife had found pornography in his house that was on the homosexual erotica
Mm-hmm.
side. He
Yeah.
preferred that side of his sexuality, but he hid it
Mm,
with others. He only brought it out with some of us, not with others. Um,
mm,
he has an obsession with guns, keeping them
mm-hmm.
loaded in the house. We found out that he has severe drug addictions. We found out he is doing and selling drugs through his business.
Mm,
Um, I am concerned about his relationship with a stepdaughter. I
mm-hmm.
think that there was some inappropriate behavior that
Mm-hmm.
happened to cause her to now hate her mother
Mm-hmm.
because he knew how to control her in a sexually deviant way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have proof on it, so
No, no.
that's my theory on things.
Mm,
But I everything he does again is to be all about him. But I do we have as we have found out and put all our notes together. He really has, to me, I think it's a sick sexual uh, interest.
mm-hmm.
To others, it may not be, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But it's sick
Mm,
to me because you didn't tell me that's the way you like things, and I'm not going
yeah.
to participate in that. And that's
Yeah.
you. If you want to be that way, then be with others that enjoy that lifestyle or enjoy having you have sex with a man while someone watches you.
Mm. Yeah. No, fair enough. And again, while you're talking, I understand that again you live in the same town, so you have to be
Yeah.
pretty careful around this. So
Yes.
thank
Yeah.
you for your candor. I do appreciate, and
Yeah.
I understand that it's difficult in that way as well. So I mean, with all this that's going on, I'm trying to think how. his over the course of 4 years,
Yes.
you said he checked the boxes at first, and you mentioned that you'd come into it, you'd been divorced yourself, you'd raised your
Yes.
son, and then began dating. So,
Hmm.
I mean, how long was it until the mask started slipping after that initial meeting and becoming, I don't know, starting to become more serious? How long did it take for him?
The mask never slipped. Not at all. He he's a very, very intelligent human being, and he knows how to read people. And again, when I first started dating him, he knew what I was looking for in a relationship and in a man. And I was looking for everything I was looking for, and I would tell him, you check this box off, you check this box. I can't believe I met. And he's like, yeah, I know. It's like my mother sent you to, because she always wanted me to have a nice Jewish woman in my life, and I can't believe, we have so much in common. And I'd be like, yeah, this is amazing that you and I can talk about anything, and we'd have these great. And he was so funny, and the problem was, dating him was like dating a slot machine. Sometimes you would pull that lever, and you would have, and we would. I'd finally get the attention from him, and then we would have a great weekend, and the time would just seem to slip by, and it was the most amazing time. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed being with him. But then I would press that lever, and then it was like, oh, I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. I can't talk. I got this going on. And then I would go, and I would stay the weekend, or I would stay the night, and I'd come home, and I'd be bawling all the way home, because I didn't know when I was going to see him again, or when I was going to be able to talk to him, because, oh, I got this business project. I got this project. I got to be doing this and that. And I don't know when we can see each other. And it gets you get addicted to that high. You're
Yeah.
constantly addicted. So it was never that all of a sudden the mask fell the day I caught him. At that point, he knew the game was up, and he wasn't going to play it anymore. Now, mind you, there would be times where all of a sudden when I would start to push a little further and wanting more from him, that's when he would start, you're pushy. He was talking, you're pushy, you're too alpha, you're this is not what I want right now. I can't deal with this. I have my business. I have my daughters. I have my sickness, and you keep pushing, and you're making this all about you, and you know how much I have going on. And then I would feel horrible. Oh my
Yeah.
God, how could I ever ask him to give more of himself? I'm a very selfish person. Um, it was getting exhausting for me. It really was. And towards the end, though, I was really kind of like, I can't live like this anymore. This is too much. But every time he knew I was getting to that point, listen, the last time listen, let me feel better. Go ahead and start looking online for the cruises. And come springtime, you and I are going to take that cruise. I promise. All right. So you look it up. Tell me what you think. And thank God I never bought that cruise. Because, a month
Yeah.
later, I found him with this other woman. I mean, so that's the day the mask fell. And so that's when I say it was a complete shock to my system. It was a
Yeah.
complete shock to myself. And then when I went online and I posted him on social media and found Stephanie. And I mean, I don't know what made her, she was like, we didn't know each other from Adam. And I was like, hey, do you live close? And she's like, yeah, I live in the next neighborhood over. Come over. And she tells me now, and joking, she's like, you could have been a serial killer, and I wouldn't know. And she goes, and I just came right over. And we met for the first time, and we sat on my back porch bawling our eyes out together, comparing notes, going, oh my God. So that day that he told me he was with his daughters, he was with you. And she's going, yeah, the day he told me he had to go to a conference in Vegas, that was a trip with you. And we're going, oh my God. And then 2 days later, we're like, oh, so that scrunchie wasn't his daughter's? You were living with him? So that's when the mask fell, and he knew he couldn't play it with any of us.
Wow.
None of
Yeah, and
us had an idea.
Yeah. Well, and I suppose like you mentioned, like the really good days, that sort of spurs you on as well, doesn't it? A view of
Yes.
what could be, what it could be like. It's really good like this. So yeah, no, well, we can talk about sort of Stephanie. You and her,
Yeah.
you've now met, and
Yes.
everything starts falling into place about what's
Yes.
happening. So, can I ask, what were the similarities that you both first hit upon? Um, yeah, I suppose let's
Yes.
start with there. Where you both said, "Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too." What was that
Yeah.
like?
That it was Twilight Zone. Are you serious?
Mm,
This is bizarre. It was so odd and so crazy that she and I kept going, I can't believe this cannot be serious. I mean, this was just like blowing
mm,
our brains. I
mm,
mean, truly, neither of us had any inkling at all.
mm,
Nothing, no idea that not only was he dating this other woman that he worked with, that he was living with another woman, that there was her, there was me, and we're going, and now we're comparing notes. We would compare, or he would say, um, hey, I'm out on the field today and I'm working out because he does work with some of the phosphate mining companies here in Florida.
mm,
And he would be like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I may not have any good signal. Here's a picture of me working. And
mm,
then Stephanie and I are looking at each other's phones going, oh, I have that picture too. What time did you get it?
mm.
And I went, that son of a, excuse me. I
Yeah,
almost said,
it sounds
I
like
can't believe it. Yeah, he sent me that picture too. Are you
yeah.
kidding me? So this was like absolutely
Mm,
none of us could believe this was mine. I mean, I look back now and laugh, but we were in tears.
mm,
Tears. And the
mm,
funny thing is about it was about March or April of this past year, and she and we were all still trying to we would talk to each other we created a group chat
mm,
on and so we have our own little group chat, and then we would all talk to each other every day, supporting each other. How are you doing today? How are you, who was going to
mm.
cry today, and who was, so one of
Yeah,
us always had a turn of who had the meltdown and who was going to save each other from
yeah.
throwing ourselves off the Skyway Bridge here in Tampa. And um we said, well, let's have a girls weekend
Mm,
and just go. And we rented a because we live about an hour and a half outside of Orlando, and of course they have
mm-hmm,
all the great Disney resorts. And so we
mm,
went and we rented a weekend and turned off our phones,
mm-hmm.
and we were going to get through this and muddle through it together.
Yeah.
And I think for 4 days she and I had so many, margaritas sitting by the poolside, bawling our eyes out and just
Mm,
getting it out. And we realized at that point, and she and I were like, I, we really, this is a blessing. I come to find out she and I have actually had these really weird parallel lives this whole
mm,
time. Her ex-husband and my ex-husband had the same name.
mm,
Her son and my son were born about the same, exact same, almost the same day, and both born having the same complications.
mm.
We have both lived on streets with the same names. Coincidentally, because she lives on the road and she just moved to an apartment. I said, that was the same address I had 10 years ago. So that kind of weirdness, we
Yeah.
both, I mean, we both were raised exactly the same by our single moms. We both have brothers with the same name. We both
Mm,
have one brother. They had the exact same name. And we are just going, okay, so maybe we went through all this because you and I were the ones that were meant to beat each other. Maybe we're this. So
yeah.
she and I have become these soulmates. And she is my
Mm,
sister that we were actually probably meant to find. And we both were dating the same man, having the
mm,
same exact. I mean, she used to keep a diary
mm,
of things, and then she was looking at her diary and I'm looking at my diary going, we were actually going like he would take her to this one place where you could, like a winery here in town,
Hmm.
and the next day he would take me to the winery, and I'm going, this is so weird. This is just so weird. It really was. It's
Yeah.
still, no one believes us how weird this situation is.
Hmm.
And now, and the funny thing is, he hates his ex-wife to the point of it's like, get over it. Come on. You can't
Hmm.
blame everything in your life on your ex-wife. And
Hmm.
now that I've met her, and she is Polly, she actually, we went out last to have drinks last night. She
Hmm.
is one of the most dearest women I have ever met in my life.
Hmm.
And between Stephanie and his ex-wife and I, we talk every day. We support each other. We talk about a million other things. We don't talk about him. Trust me, he doesn't take up that
Hmm.
much, mind space anymore. But
Hmm.
and that's how the three of us kept going. I wonder how many other people go through this. We
Hmm.
cannot, how many other people need to hear this story? Because we, there are days I couldn't get out of bed.
Hmm.
I used up all my sick. Like I said, I tried to commit suicide when it happened.
Hmm.
A month later, I ended up having a heart attack from, they call it, a heartbreak.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yes. What is it? There's broken heart syndrome. I can't.
broken heart
There,
syndrome.
there is a name for it, and I forget what it is at the moment. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I had that,
Hmm.
and I thought, I've been through the depths of hell.
Hmm.
I dated the devil himself, and survived.
Hmm.
And I've come to the point that through this survival and through the hell, that I now manifest peace and happiness in my
Hmm.
life. And either you be a part of my peace and happiness, or you don't be part of my life ever
Yeah.
again. And
Hmm.
it's a hard lesson. And I wish I was a stronger woman 10 years ago to
Hmm.
have. Oh my gosh, Stephanie joined. I
Stephanie's
wish.
got in.
There
I am
she
I,
is.
I am
There's my Stephanie, my love of my life.
I am so sorry. I cannot download it, so I had to pull out my old ass laptop. Sorry, can I cuss?
No, that's all good. How are you, Stephanie?
I'm
Welcome.
great. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm just getting all the details, getting the stories. We were just actually I just introduced you into the story how you were comparing notes. Um yeah,
We were
so
talking about, we would compare our texts and the pictures that he would send us, and you and I sat on my porch going, oh my god, he sent me that exact one, and he would send me the same picture and tell me the same story, and all this time he would be telling us that he was out on the field when he was with one of the other women.
Correct. Exactly.
well, yeah, I was going to say well now you've joined us, Stephanie. So like Laurie's given me, she's given me this crazy story that you've all been involved in. And so, well, can I ask, when you first found out about this or were confronted with it, what was your state of mind? Where was your head at?
I was when she posted his picture on
Hmm.
this public forum. I don't know if we're allowed to say
Hmm.
it.
Ah.
um I was just in shock. I literally fell to my
Hmm.
knees and started screaming for my adult daughter. She
Hmm.
thought my mom had passed. How upset I
Hmm.
was.
Hmm.
Just complete shock. I never would have
Hmm.
suspected anything to this magnitude from him at all. I fully
Hmm.
trusted him
Hmm.
completely. I never had any doubts about what kind of man he was, what kind of father
Hmm.
he was, just what kind of person he was. Um,
Hmm.
he was always a generous person. Everybody liked him from what I could tell. My
Hmm.
kids absolutely adored him. Um, my youngest daughter would give up time spending with her real dad to spend time with
Hmm.
him. So it
Hmm.
was just a complete shock that that he would do all of this and then involve kids in the scenario. It was just cruel,
Hmm.
absolutely
Yeah.
cruel, and just I kept saying for the longest time, I kept saying, you know, I think I'm still in shock, even months later, because my brain just could
Mm,
not process that somebody could be this evil and this cruel to
mm,
people that he knew were good people that loved him and would
mm.
do anything for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did say to Laurie before, I mean, because she told me that he was very different with each woman that he was in a relationship with. And I find that, just mind blowing that how would you have the bandwidth to keep up with all these different lies, all
Exactly.
these different stories? Like you're saying, all these different people remembering all the little, idiosyncrasies that we all have.
Right.
I just, well, forgive the phrase, he's very, very good.
He is.
And I don't
He
mean
is.
that, in a positive way, but yeah, if that's your thing, then he's a very adept manipulator.
Yes,
And
totally.
yeah.
I actually this
Oh,
morning on Instagram saw something that said, for like $4 million, say one thing nice about your ex. And, you know, they were like
mm,
choking, like they couldn't come up with anything. But I'm like, well, actually, he's an extremely well manipulator. He's good at what he
yeah,
does. He's
yeah.
extremely
Fantastic actor.
believable, you know?
Mm, yeah,
And mind you that the four of well the four of us women that found out that he was seeing at the same time, these are just the four that we know of.
Right.
mm,
We also know that there are other ones out there as well. Now, to what level, I don't know where they are.
mm,
We've been, wanting to try to get the word, but that's on them. But these are just the ones we know
Right.
of. Now,
yeah,
mind you, in between, there were other women that he would slip in between us that he would bring into the relationships. We just don't know who they are. So that's how good he
Yeah.
was.
mm,
When I first met him, he was
And,
actually
and trust me, he's not this great looking guy. So if you saw a picture of him, you would be like, seriously? But he plays the gentle, meek, kind of
mm,
nerdy guy so well that you would sit there and go, there ain't no way this guy's dating other women. Look at him.
mm,
You would not think. But he uses that to his
yeah,
advantage. So I'm sorry. Go ahead,
yeah,
Stephanie.
very very charming. Yeah, but it just, you know, when I first met him and started seeing him, he was in a relationship with another woman that I later found out once everything, you know, was exposed.
mm,
And, you know, meanwhile, he's telling me that he went on one date. He hasn't dated. He's asking me questions like, what is it like in the dating world these days? You know, because I've been married
mm,
and haven't had any experience in dating, you know, and what's that like? And, you know, just,
mm,
I don't
yeah,
understand because there's, you know, no offense, but there are plenty of women who would be okay with, you know, having a casual relationship.
yeah,
Um, so why he didn't choose that route, why he chose to manipulate really good people, you know, and just
yeah,
lie, you know, for me it was 5 years. And
mm,
it's just something that is it's really hard to explain, to put into words,
mm,
the deceit, the destruction, the brokenheartedness, because I
mm,
loved him like I've never loved another man before.
mm,
I thought he was my person. I thought that was who,
mm,
that was it.
Same. Same. We
mm,
all did. We all thought he was our person.
mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I don't know sticks in my throat, and that like you said, there's plenty enough people out there. If you want a hookup, then there's provision for that. Let's say, you
Correct.
know, it's and to keep this going for in your case 5 years, Laurie in yours 4 years, and you know other other scenarios that he's got involved in. I can't I can't reconcile with that way of thinking.
Most,
I don't know. I just can't stand. And like you say, you bring kids into the picture as well, and there's
Yeah.
wider family and friends, and you stay in that long, and it impacts. You know, yeah, you do. You sort of. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my mind
No, I
around
know, because most
how.
good people cannot comprehend
Yes.
that type of evil that exists in the world to just your normal everyday people. You know,
It's like when you watch one of those shows on these serial killers, and you're like, how could they have done this? And you think that way because they have a different
Mm,
brain and than the normal human beings. And
mm,
so yes, so that is part of this recovery that Stephanie and I, you know, a lot of our friends don't understand. They say, why can't you just move on? Why can't you just
mm,
get over him? Because you don't understand the manipulation for years we have had to go through, that we were going through, not realizing
mm,
it. And now we've been having to put through this road of to recovery on our own and left to ourselves to
mm,
heal. It's a lot of healing to go through this. And that's how we ended up to this point where it's, if you guys would hear our story, if people would hear our stories on what torturous hell we went through,
mm,
that it, if we can heal,
mm,
we want to pay it forward to let other people know they can heal. Because there are so many women going, I don't know how to get through this. I don't know if I'll make it
mm,
through to tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going. I found out my ex was doing the same thing, and I don't know if I'm going to survive tomorrow. And you know, if I had a dollar every time I say, I don't know how I'm going to survive tomorrow,
mm,
I would never need to work again. I'd
mm,
be a
yeah,
millionaire. And I can't tell you how many times I had to call Stephanie going, Stephanie, I don't want to live anymore. I can't
mm,
live like this ever. I can't live anymore.
mm,
And I feel bad for other women who have to do this alone. I don't know how
mm,
his ex-wife did it alone.
mm,
I really don't. He tortured her
yeah.
horribly.
mm,
And claimed that she
mm,
was the bad person, you know, and
mm,
this isn't your typical breakup or cheating,
Right.
because
mm,
in a lot of those cases, let's just say, like with my ex husband, for example, there was cheating, but I could go back and know that there was a time where we loved each other. We created this beautiful family. So those emotions and memories are real. Where in this case, from the
mm.
very beginning, there was nothing real on his end. It was all
Yeah.
our
Yes.
feelings and our emotions and our love and our deep concern for him. But there was never a moment for him where he gave a damn about us, because you
Mm,
can't do that to somebody that you care about. If you're a good person, you just can't do that to somebody.
mm,
And he just has no
mm,
morals. He has no conscience. Um, and it's just mind-boggling to know that there's people that are so good out there who do this and are able to get away
mm,
with it, and there's no consequences. And
Mhm.
even if there were
No.
consequences, I don't think he would ever truly feel or understand the hurt that he has caused to so many women. Unintentional, like, I mean,
mm.
it didn't have to go this way.
No.
Oh,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
well.
There's times. So I'm so sorry, Lee.
No,
Please
no,
forgive me. Go
please,
ahead.
please, go on. Go on. You're good.
No, I was going to say, that's another thing is that you get so angry and you don't know how to, you want to be you want revenge, you want
Mm,
karma. um at times it can consume you, and
mm,
that's one of the stages of trying to get over. It's horrible. It's and I don't think I'll ever not be angry to say what you did was wrong and how dare you. And I try to be a very good person, and I've tried to forgive him. I can't. And I'm if call me a bad person and send me to hell, I don't care. I've already dated hell. So,
mm,
but I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive him. And I've I have to forgive myself. That's more
mm,
Yeah.
important, is forgiving myself for
mm,
allowing myself to get to this and being able to come to the point where I can live again in pure happiness that I
mm.
designed myself, instead of
Yeah.
worrying about forgiving him. I
Mm,
don't care if he's never forgiven. and I hope he does fall off a cliff. And because my happiness and now my best friend Stephanie's happiness is what concerns the most with me.
And
Yeah.
the
But that's the bit where I was sort of going to take in that, yeah, there's this guy who, I don't know, just seems to walk around like some tomcat and what have you. But, he's caused a lot of harm doing what he's doing. But ultimately, I suppose your story is one of, I don't want to use the word redemption. That's probably the wrong word. But there's a positive in that you guys have come together. You've met each other and you've healed yourself. And I think, yeah, ultimately, that's probably the bigger, more important thing. This guy, well, is inadvertently brought you guys together,
yes,
through his own,
Yeah.
deeds and whatnot. And he's caused a lot of harm and a lot of heartache across the world. But I suppose the way that you've dealt with it, I think that's as important a lesson as anything. You've moved on. So can I ask you what steps you've taken between yourselves to do that, to build yourself back up from a place where, let's have it right, you would be feeling pretty shit.
Yeah.
well, I say this all the time that I believe this is all God's doing to to A,
Mm-hmm.
get us out of that situation, and B, to bring Lori into my life. And vice versa, honestly, so that we could be there for each other. Because even talking to my mother and my other close friends, they don't get it. They don't
Mm,
understand. They don't know what to say. And when they do say things, it's, not that it's the wrong thing, but it's just different when you have somebody
mm,
who you could be having a good day and then 5 minutes later you can be having a nervous breakdown just out of nowhere,
mm,
and we have each other, to call
mm,
each other, and we truly understand.
mm,
So just that friendship, her friendship has saved me and helped heal me. Um, and
mm,
and like I say all the time, I'm like, everything happens for a reason. Me and Lori were truly meant to be friends, and this is something that God orchestrated so that we would have each other to overcome this. And I'm
mm,
so grateful and thankful every day that Lori made that post. Otherwise,
mm.
would I still be in this scenario and just not know it
Yeah.
for the rest of my life? So
Mm,
many years
mm,
wasted, but it could have been more.
mm,
So I try to
yeah.
see the
Yeah.
positive in it.
Mm,
And, I always say too that we get to where we want to see somebody hurt as bad as we're hurting. I
mm-hmm.
think that's human nature. But I also
Yeah.
find comfort in knowing that if we don't see his karma here on earth, he'll have to answer to the good Lord one day.
Mm,
And,
yeah.
God doesn't like ugly,
Mm,
so
yeah.
he'll get his karma, one way or the other.
Mm,
Yeah, we had to focus on
Yeah.
ourselves and make
yeah.
turn it around and quit focusing on him and focus on ourselves. For me, it has been constant therapy,
Mm-hmm.
lots of therapy. Um, and for my biggest thing is allowing myself to heal, allowing myself to have the time to heal. It
Mm,
doesn't happen overnight. I'll have there will be times all of a sudden I think I see him out, in the store, and she and I were out there, and I thought I saw him, and I just started bawling,
mm,
freaked out, hysterical, just had an absolute panic attack. Thank God it wasn't him, but still, you're going to have those moments. And for me, the biggest thing is when they still happen, to forgive myself and say, Lori, it's okay. It is
mm,
okay.
mm,
Healing is an everyday journey for me, and
mm,
and it's not going to happen overnight. It took her 5 years. It took me 4 years to have this relationship. So why would I expect the healing to happen in a month?
mm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm. No, I think that's awesome. Well, again, yeah, if we can look to bring it home.
Yes.
What would you say for for any other women out there who may be in this situation or thinking that they could be involved in something like this? What would you say?
Well, I think the most important thing is not to blame yourself. A lot of
Mm,
times, Lori will say, I'm so mad at myself for accepting this,
yeah,
but we didn't know. All of his
yeah,
excuses, um, we thought was because he came out a horrible divorce with a horrible ex-wife. Um,
mm,
he claimed that he had all these different illnesses. So we would make excuse for that. We wouldn't make
mm,
excuses for certain behaviors because we were thinking this was all real. So you can't
mm,
beat yourself up over it. We did nothing wrong. We
yeah,
absolutely did not one thing wrong. We did everything right.
mm,
We gave our
mm,
full hearts, um, and that was taken advantage of. And
mm,
but we did nothing wrong. So you can't look back on things and say, well, if I would have done this or if I would have done that. No, because that
mm,
type of person, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, it's not going to change who they are fundamentally as a human
mm,
being.
yeah,
Yeah.
mm,
And
absolutely.
my closing up is, and I think I started this off, and I will end it at this.
Mm,
If you have to wonder if a man loves you or a woman loves you, if you
mm,
have to wonder, then they don't.
mm,
If you have to wonder what's going on, if there's really a relationship, then there's not.
mm,
And while I was dating him, my mother had passed away unexpectedly. And one of the last
mm,
conversations she and I had about him was she told me, Lori, you know the song When a Man Loves a Woman? She said,
mm,
I want you to listen to the lyrics because that is how a man loves a woman with everything. And if
mm,
he's not loving you like that, then he's not loving you. And you
mm,
need to walk away. And I
mm.
wish that my mother saw me strong enough to have left him when she was alive until having to do this after I lost her.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with me, ladies. It's been, yeah, it's been a lot, but I'm so glad to see that you've come out the other side of it. I suppose it's one of these, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the hardest lessons that stick the best,
Absolutely.
and this, yeah,
Oh,
this,
listen, Stephanie and I we celebrate all our holidays together with our families, her kids, my kids. We all get together. We're getting
mm,
ready. We just did Thanksgiving here in the U.S. We're doing Christmas together. She and I are going on a cruise this
mm,
coming up February. So she and I have found the best friend I didn't know I needed, and so glad I found.
mm,
So listen, when they say God closes one door to open another, it doesn't always have to be the relationship you want, but I did find my soulmate. They are out there.
oh,
Sometimes they're just your best friends.
Absolutely.
mm,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
mm. Oh, well, that is beautiful. I genuinely do love that. So thank you, ladies. Thank you for talking
Thank
to
you
me,
for having
and
us.
thank you.
Yes,
It's been
Lee. Thank you
honestly, it's
so
been a
much.
pleasure. It's been a pleasure, and thank you again out there for listening. As always, I do appreciate your support. If I can ask you to look out for me on Instagram, TikTok under Social Harmony Talk, and Facebook under Social Harmony Time to Talk. I'll post show links, selfies, any information on upcoming episodes, things like that. I will look to launch a new episode every Monday at 6 p.m. New Zealand time on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if I could ask you to follow me across the platforms, like, share, comment, etc., I do really, really love that. If you would like to join me for a conversation, please get in touch. We can agree a future episode, sort something out. But for now, go well, look after yourselves, and keep talking. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. Oh.